Welcome to the Master Your Roles podcast. This show will teach you, the entrepreneur, the time management skills you need to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled in all areas of life. I'm your host, Scott Snow. As a busy entrepreneur, you have a lot of challenges. Work-life balance, knowing your purpose, prioritizing, these are all big issues. You're working so hard, and you want to achieve great things. But do you have the skills to keep you from burnout? We all struggle with time management. In fact, Gary Vaynerchuk mentioned that that's probably the question he gets most often from entrepreneurs that come up and ask him for his mentoring and advice is, how do I spend my time? There's only so many hours in the day. How do I prioritize? And a lot of us struggle with our purpose and our mission, our vision, all these big items that we haven't taken the time to think through. We don't have our head on straight. Self-awareness is a big key for entrepreneurs to understand. So, you've got to get to know yourself more. You've got to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Self-awareness is in Harvard Business Review all the time. It's quite a buzzword. So you've got to know all the big moving parts to your life. And then once you identify them correctly, you have to be able to have a system for transitioning between roles. One thing that causes a lot of people problems is burnout. And burnout often stems from not really having a very clear purpose or mission, not knowing what's important to you and why you're doing all these things. Why are you spending all the time that you are in your pursuits? If you don't know your whys, then you could very well burn out before you're able to achieve all the great things you want to do. Entrepreneur Magazine listed a bunch of studies that talked about the two types of burnout, circumstantial and existential. Now, the circumstantial burnout, it usually relates to workplace challenges, neglect of personal life, not taking time off. But existential burnout is from the loss of meaning in what you're doing in your profession, a lack of self-validation, and a poor understanding of your professional identity. So we've got to take a positive approach to identifying all these big moving parts to our lives. I struggled with the same issues that we're talking about here. And it wasn't until I created this system for myself that I really things started to come into place. And it got a lot easier. And then it really unleashed my passion for my purpose. And I want to share that with you. Today's episode is titled, The Most Powerful Time Management Skill You Will Ever Learn. Well, that skill is identifying the roles that you play, all the different hats that we wear. And this is so important. That's why I started with my first episode with this very subject. And if you think of it, you see people identifying their roles all the time. People are very proud to say all the different roles that they play. For example, Maya Angelou. Her Twitter account has a bio that lists her as a poet, educator, historian, best-selling author, actress, civil rights activist, producer, and director. Ayesha Curry, the wife of the basketball star, lists believer, wife, mommy, passionate dual citizen, living in my indestructible bubble of happiness, making people's hearts happy and tummies full. So I love how she has her purpose and she has a bunch of her roles listed. But you see it all the time. Even you see it in obituaries. Maggie was a kung fu black belt and a doctor and a grandma and a best friend. So all these different areas that we have. A fellow podcaster, April Pollard, listed on her Facebook profile page that she's a founder, financial advisor, entrepreneur, connector, strategist, mentor, and speaker. and her company is Women Influencers. So we're proud of all the different areas that we have in our lives, that we can manage all these different things. So what is a role exactly? What's the definition of a role? A role is a category in our life that we have to spend quality time in daily or at least weekly to be fulfilled. I'm a musician, so a lot of my analogies relate around music, and I think of a role list as a set list. Think of your favorite band, seeing them live. They have a set list, and they start the concert with a lot of excitement. They've got their tried and true songs mixed in there, carefully selected. And at the end, of course, there's a big climax and then maybe even a second encore. So you have to have a set list too. But your set list won't have the songs. They'll have your roles. I think of all these roles as kind of like the ingredients to your life. Or like a composer would have all their main ideas that they're going to compile, or a great chef would have the best ingredients. All of these ingredients are your roles. And some of these roles, it's not quite as easy as you might think. Some of the roles you might not even be playing right now. You have to consciously adopt them right now to set you up for the future. So that's where this system really helps. Now, there are 4 types of roles. The first type of role is the mind, body, spirit role. These are the roles that really, before you're all these other things, you're a human being, you're you. So these are the mind, body, spirit roles. So of course, religion or spirituality, if they pertain to you. Mind, how do you learn? How do you take care of your emotional fitness? And your body. I would think everybody would need to have a body role to be healthy, strong, take care of the body. The next category is the giving and receiving roles. So this very simply is the input and the output. The giving, maybe you want to be a giver. Maybe you think of yourself as a philanthropist. Of course, maybe you're not there yet, and that's fine. And receiving. And this would deal with your finances and wealth. And I think pretty much all of us would need to have a specific category in our life that deals with the finances. Next is our personal roles. And this would be relationships, hobbies. It might even be a part of your personality. Like maybe you strongly identify with being an adventurer. So that could be one of your personal roles. And finally, we have the professional roles. And professional roles aren't just your occupation. They might be related to a lot of different areas within your job, especially entrepreneurs. We are notorious for having many different hats. And so once you become an entrepreneur, you might have to adopt a sales role if you're not strong on sales, or marketing, or web design, all these different things. Networking is a big one. Next, I'd like to share my role list. It's a list of 21 roles, which is pretty big. I suggest usually, 15 to 20, especially if you're a busy entrepreneur. And you want to think big when you're creating this role list. So here's my list. First category, mind, body, spirit. I have 4 roles. 1, spiritual and transcendental meditation. 2, 180-pound body. A little clue, I'm not 180 pounds. And 3, special forces. And I've never been in the service, certainly not the special forces, but having this role gives me the motivation to be more disciplined, to go after it more, to be able to endure. And that's this role I go to when I need to pump it up a little bit. Visionary. And next is the giving receiving roles. I have 2 roles in that category. Wealth builder is number 5, and number 6 is philanthropist. Now, am I Bill Gates giving millions and millions of dollars? No. But I'm inspired by that. I like reading stories about it. I can give myself the philanthropist role right now and then give of my time. I can be helpful. I like looking up the fancy galas that philanthropists go to. So I kind of track those. I have a collection of pictures of different fancy galas and that sort of thing. I like that. That inspires me. Thinking big, remember? And under personal roles, this is I have 8 personal roles. Number 7 is husband, 8, dad, 9, family and friend combined, 10, backgammon, 11, chef, 12, movie buff, 13, joker, which I like to think of this role as being kind of, I like to root for the villains in movies. I like horror movies. I love the Joker, Cesar Romero, from the original 60s Batman. It just kind of gives me that, it's a little bit of craziness, and I like that. And 14 is writer. Now we have my professional roles. Number 15, master your roles. This is my business. I founded this. I wrote the book. So, of course, I would need a big role for that. 16, sales pro. 17, professional speaker. 18, executive coach and life coach. 19, social media contributor. So not just spitting out information, but contributing, responding to other people, being helpful, being of service. 20, productivity expert. I needed a role where I'm an expert, and that entails lots of reading and research and professional development. And 21, music therapist. So those are my 21 roles, and I think probably listening to them, you start to think about roles that work for you, kind of related to that. And I hope you do that. I hope you do create your own role list. Now you're probably listening and saying, well, what are the benefits for making this role list and taking the time to do this? Well, there are many. Creating your own role list gives you permission to spend time in areas that are deeply important to you. A lot of people always say, well, I don't have time for this, or, I'm passionate about so-and-so, but I never get to do it. This gives you permission. This puts a little place card in for your busy life. Making a role list will help you see the big picture of your life. You'll see all the moving pieces of your life. In fact, it's a good exercise once you create your list to write them out in index cards and spread them out in front of you. Another exercise is to rate each one on a 1 to 10 scale. How fulfilled are you in each role? If you're like most, you'll have some roles that are a lot more difficult and challenging than others. You could even have some roles that are in crisis. So this is a good way of identifying that. Your role list gives you a vision for your future and helps you to begin steering towards it today. Helps you realize the value of tiny steps of progress. Having a role list adds beauty and joy to your life as you begin to curate the roles you want and be more selective of what you need in your life. It will assist you in making purposeful transitions between all different areas of your life. Work-life integration is a big term that we hear now. Having a role list guides you through the changes of your life year to year. Think about the different roles you play now that you didn't even know you would be playing, 3 or 4 years ago, or even 1 year ago. Having a role list clarifies what you value most, so you can share it with others. How helpful would it be to meet a new business partner or a friend or a date and be able to say, this is what's most important to me right here. Here you go. Here's the document. Here's the list. Having your own role list helps you with self-awareness. And that results from knowing your present and future roles. In closing, if you want to have a vision for your life, increase your self-awareness, and have the ability to prioritize your time, your first step is to create your own role list. Today's episode, we talked about the most important and most powerful time management skill there is, identifying your role list. We explored how your roles make up the richness of your life, and how transitioning between all of your roles is the wonderful challenge of our lifetime. The truth is, you could never master your roles. But what a beautiful pursuit. We also discussed the 4 types of roles: mind, body, spirit, giving, receiving, personal, and professional. I shared my 21 roles with you. In another 3 months, there will probably be changes to that role. And I shared those roles with you so that you could do your own. I see myself as patient zero with this Master Your Roles process. So I invite you to create your own role list and see the benefits. For more information, visit our website, masteryourroles.com, and you will find a lot of invaluable resources, including a PDF for listing your role list. Identify all the essential roles you play and dedicate your life to turning them into masterpieces. Remember, you are meant to do great things. We can give you the skills to do them. I love to hear your feedback and comments, so feel free to share those, and thanks for listening.